r/ask Reddit. What's your greatest most satisfying eye ducking called it moment? My wife and I went to Red Lobster one day. My wife likes the shrimp and lobster pasta with Parmesan cheese. They sat her plate down. She got a weird look on her face. She told me it smelled weird. It smelled normal to me. I straight up asked her if she could be pregnant. Her eyes got wide as she starts doing some math in her head. We went afterwards and got a pregnancy test. Sure enough, she didn't even know yet. All because I remember some random tidbit about some food smelling off to pregnant women. When my brother and sister-in-law planned a trip home for Easter weekend, I told my wife and parents that they were coming to announce their pregnancy. Everyone told me I was crazy and they'd just use the family chat for that. Cue Easter lunch on Saturday and my sil refuses a glass of wine and everyone guesses she's pregnant. Called it. My cousin swears it's my fault she has 5 kids. Every time she's been pregnant I called it before she knew. She says me saying it is what makes it take. I'm banned from asking her, are you pregnant? Kept finding small cut up straws in my grandma's bathroom. So many straws. I let my grandmother know that someone is using her bathroom to use drugs. She freaks out saying I'm accusing her of using drugs and that it's impossible. A year later my uncle divorces his wife due to her cocaine addiction. Grandma says well Kay always stopped by in the afternoon to use the restroom and then she would clean my whole house and I just didn't think anything of it. My favorite story at Thanksgiving. Caught up with a high school friend on a university campus. Pretty quiet guy. Subtle good looks but never showed any interest in relationships. We were waiting for separate buses when he runs into one of his classmates, and she joins us in the bus line. We were having pretty good conversation, but I saw her eyes repeatedly flickering over to his face. Soon after, my bus pulled up, so I smiled and waved goodbye to my friend, and said to the girl it was great meeting you. I'm sure I'll see you a lot more in the future. She looked puzzled, but smiled and waved back. They're in a common law marriage now, and getting officially married next year, and they've been valuable friends to my fiance and I for the last 6 years. Dude at work had been complaining about his crazy girlfriend and her problems. 2 weeks later he is talking about how she is pregnant. In my head I'm thinking, she is going to lose the baby because it isn't real. Sure enough, he comes in all sad about just over 2 more weeks later saying she had a miscarriage. Some time passed and he's complaining about her crazy antics again. She probably will end up pregnant for real though. Fake another pregnancy. Say don't need condoms cause already pregnancy and bam. Your friend is mega screwed. My girlfriend's employer got sued in a class action for illegally withholding overtime pay and a bunch of other shady shit over the course of a decade or so. Girlfriend got a paper in the mail saying fill out this shit and join in the class action. I told her to do it because it cost her nothing and had the potential to get her tons of money that she was never given in salary. She declined to do it but most of her co-workers joined in. A few months go by and all of her co-workers get massive checks in the mail because the employer settled the case, like $5,000, and she gets $0. Ducking told you so. One of the old coaches from the Chicago Bears is Mark Trestman. I told everyone that he would not make it to the 3rd year of his contract. He would get fired after the 2nd season. I made a $500 bet with my dad because I was damn sure. Soon as the news broke, I called him and told him I prefer cash over check. About halfway through Splice, when Dren has sex with Adrian Brody, I said out loud to my friend she's gonna morph into a male and rape his wife. My friends were justifiably weirded out when that actually happened. My husband can guess weird twists like this with scary accuracy. It's his superpower. I don't care if they are up 28-3. They are the Falcons. They'll blow it somehow. That my sister is gay. Growing up she'd developed what was very obviously, to me, a crush on different girls. In high school I finally said, girl, have you considered that these feelings you have for so and so might be romantic? She flipped the duck out on me. We didn't talk for weeks. She'd date any guy that asked her out because she was supposed to like guys but never really felt anything for them. Finally in college she called me and went, yeah, so anyway, you're right. I'm totally gay. We joke that it took her so long not because she was in denial. She just didn't want me to be right. I was this high middle school for the 2000s, so calling people gay for any reason was the peak of hilarity. I always thought it was so off that my one friend Mike would get so upset about this. "I'm not gay," was his constant response instead of the tried and true "LOL no you." Quite obviously it turns out Mike was gay, and I'm proud to say he came out to us before we left high school. Obviously not the most satisfying, but watching Family Feud and correctly calling the last answer makes me feel accomplished. Show me Picard's flute. My wife was watching some TV show. I happened to walk in during some scene in which it was raining out, and a guy and a gal were looking at each other through their car windows as their kid went from one car to the other. I said, "Here comes the scene where they make up," without knowing any of the background of the show. My wife started telling me that it won't happen. They had had a failed relationship years earlier, hence the kid, and the woman was with a great guy. Right after she said that, the woman got out and ran to the guy's car, basically professing her love for him. About a year after my father's death, my mother got together with a man. I felt as if something was off from the start and told her that he doesn't seem right and that he was going to do something stupid and hurt her emotionally. A year later they got engaged and they seemed happy. I've never seen my mother so happy since before my father died. Well, as of yesterday, it came out that this man has been engaged to someone else since before my mother met him, and that he has been sleeping with at least 2 other women on a regular basis. Wish I could tell her that I had ducking called it, but I am afraid it will make her more upset. Anyways, now to build my revenge plan. Wish me luck. Probably not the only one, but I was watching Seven for the first time and my mom was eagerly watching me as I reacted to the movie. She lost her shit when I said, "Is that Kevin Spacey?" during the phone call scene. She couldn't believe I recognized his voice and figured out who it was before the big reveal. I'm obviously not the only one to have guessed, but it was satisfying watching her reaction. There used to be a show called Tales from the Dark Side. I was watching it with my brother. The episode started with a female hiker who was lost and was taken in by an old couple. About 5 minutes into the episode I said, "The old people are going to cook and eat the young lady." Brother thought I was crazy. End of the episode was the young lady in the hot tube and the old people were bringing it up to boil and adding in vegetables and turning her into a soup. My mom and sister used to be obsessed with John and Kate +8, and I told them that they would end up getting divorced. When they announced the divorce, my mom and sister were devastated, but I couldn't help rubbing it in their faces. My mom thought the Duggars were just wonderful Christian people. I loathed them right from the start and told her they were extremely creepy and messed up people, and they were probably huge hypocrites. Then all the scandals came out and I was proved right, but I don't have the heart to rub it in her face. I was on a second date and we were watching Criminal Minds at her apartment. I called that the killer would be an archaeologist who hadn't even been introduced yet. She was so blown away during the reveal at the end of the episode that I took a victory lap. As I rounded third, I slipped where the carpet meets the hardwood and fell flat on my face. We've been married for over 2 years now. Co-worker made a very unethical, behind closed doors deal with another company, and he was an agency resource, not even a full employee of my company. After months, I spoke up about something being fishy and concerns of pre-committing purchasing, etc. My apathetic boss ignores me, all while co-worker secures a job at the other company to work on the project that he set up with my company. Fast forward a year later, now they are citing that project as a pre-commit for service. Wisdom never tasted so sour. The first Avengers movie, my husband was wondering why the staff could stop the almighty Tesseract. I casually said, "Maybe they're both Infinity Stones." He said, "Nah, the Tesseract is its own thing," because he was more into the comics at the time. I shrugged it off. Since then, every MacGuffin in the movies, down to Thor's Dark World, I jokingly said, Infinity Stone to troll him. You can imagine how pissed he's been since Guardians. Found out my now ex-husband was sleeping with a coworker, so naturally we divorce, but still have to keep in contact because we have a daughter. Well, her fiancé finds out and leaves her as well. Now she is a decade older than me and had mentioned that she and her ex-fiancé had been trying for a baby for a long time, but never conceived. He continued to see her and eventually she moved on with him. He didn't want any more kids. I told him to be careful because I suspected she was only with him to have a baby. Fast forward a year and she's pregnant. He comes to terms with it after being slightly upset. Fast forward a year after their baby was born and she breaks up with him. Shocker. She used him to have a kid. God, I don't feel bad for him so much as I do the kid. People want to be parents so badly and don't think about the kids they want so desperately to have. This is my best and worst called it moment. I was sitting in biology class in high school when I heard sirens outside and looked outside the window to see an ambulance rushing past. I thought to myself, that's headed in the direction of my grandma's house, even though there was a plethora of other streets it could have turned on. Looking back, it was only even vaguely heading in that direction. I had the thought because my grandma had a heart attack a year prior. I got word a few hours later that it did in fact head to my grandparents' house. Only it was for my aunt who was staying with them. She was murdered outside their house by her ex-boyfriend. I'm still not sure why I thought the ambulance was heading there, but being correct sucked. I've been practicing law in the same venue for many years with the same judges and attorneys. New hotshot attorney out of law school is opposing counsel. It's a death case. My client was not responsible, but opposing counsel would not listen to reason. On the eve of trial, my client is willing to offer a decent amount to settle the case. I call the attorney and encourage her to take it. I told her that if she didn't accept, when we went to trial the next day, I was going to have all her evidence thrown out and strike her witnesses. She thought I was bluffing. I assured her I was not. I told her to call any attorney in the area and ask them if I was a straight shooter. She basically told me to duck and that she'd see me at trial. Sure enough, the judge excludes her documentary evidence, all hearsay, and strikes her witnesses. She has zero evidence when the judge is through with her. Her client was in tears. I think she got sued for malpractice. She wasn't at that firm long after that debacle, but I ducking told her that would happen. Not sure if I can call it satisfying, but it's still a good one. In 2003 I wrote a thesis on mortgage-backed securities. The whole thing did not make sense to me and told my professor as much, but added, "What do I know? I'm just a student and Wall Street guys must know what they are doing." And then 2008 happened. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.